All right. Well, today on the show, we have a very special guest. I'm excited. Actor, storyteller, author, creative coach, encourager of those who are creators. And of course, the OG Ninja Turtles, Ray Donovan, and Murphy Brown, if that's correct.
I was
um,
one of the secretaries.
yeah, I was going to ask you. Thank you for your time, Josh. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah,
Let's talk about Murphy Brown. I think that was every actor's like thing at some point, right? To get on that show, like
absolutely.
Cheers, Becker. I don't know. Like that was a time when that was a thing to do before Friends and all these other shows
Yeah.
were a thing,
I
right?
played a I played a secretary who in one of Murphy Brown's secretaries who interpreted every single thing she did as if she was coming on to me, but she wasn't. But it was everything was he saw the world through that lens, and it just created some it was pretty fun. It was a pretty fun setup.
Yeah, I just Googled that clip before we came onto the Zoom. It's funny, like you've been in this business for a very long time, and we'll get into that in the second half here. But this book is really good, and especially for myself, who's a podcaster, YouTuber, creative, who interviews folks like yourself pretty regularly. It's encouraging. There's so much to tackle in this book. I'm sure you've been answering this question a lot, but you are an actor. You're a veteran actor. You've been doing this for a long time, but you also help other folks too,
Yeah.
who are just getting started, or maybe. I mean, the forward credits in this book are incredible. What was like kind of the impetus for you to write something like this? Is it born from the fact that you get asked or solicited for advice a lot, or you've just helped so many people and it's like, okay, I need to just put this in a book form so people can access it easily instead of maybe trying to access you if that's not something they might normally be able to do other than a
Right.
situation like this, in an interview.
Yeah. Well, the genesis of this really is many years ago, when I got out of acting school, I knew that spontaneity was key to creativity. It was key to the art form of acting. But at that point, spontaneity was very elusive. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I was spontaneous, sometimes I wasn't. And so I went on a 2-year journey training with people from all over the world who were exploring moving from impulse, creating from impulse and spontaneity. And after that, people just started asking me to teach. And I was like, I'm not a teacher. I don't know how to teach. And then NYU asked me to teach. And I was like, all right, well. And then I called it committed impulse. And so I've been teaching that when I'm not in a movie or a TV show, I find time to teach. And the book really came out of a discussion with someone who was asking me what is committed impulse. And we had a great conversation. And then he started pitching me, unbeknownst to me, to publishers. And then it turned into a bidding war. And then here we are with me writing the book. So I didn't set out to write the book, just as I didn't set out to teach, but they both, it just feels like, not to get too woo-woo, but it just feels like this is must be part of why I'm here, because these things have been asked of me and I love teaching and it makes me a better actor because I can kind of break down and I can, and when I'm on set and I'm constantly learning from all the amazing actors I've worked with, and then I bring that back to, people that want to train with me.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's a valid statement. I don't think it's like you probably don't know this at the time, but now you do. Uh, Late in your career, you're helping other people be successful and defining success in a different way,
Mm.
uh, creative, impulse or, intended that way. I think it's cool. I do podcasting. I also do stand up, but I've taken acting classes in the past. And oftentimes they're great, but you get like just a very short window with someone like yourself, maybe you break down a scene and you work on it. But I feel like you really probably just get in the trenches with people and really like help them
Yeah.
out. It's
Yeah.
not just like
That's
a one-off thing necessarily. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but like to
right.
really just like dig into people's lives and help them be better, which I think is cool. That's one of the things I get from reading this book, at least on
Yeah.
the offset.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I just have the ability to see how people get stuck. And I've come up with very quick ways to get them unstuck. And basically, by stuck, I mean either locked in their body or dominated by their head. And I know how to get people fully accepting their body, the sensations of their body, and how to get out of their head. Of course, all of us, even when we get out of our head, then our mind's going to pop back in. But then I teach people once it comes back in, how to come back into the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's just acting in a nutshell, is just being in the moment.
Yeah.
When you look at all these different stories that actors tell and these characters that they create, like, what comes to mind is Charlie Hunnam about this Ed Gein story. He's doing interviews and talking about how some of these scenes that he did are vulnerable. My point is like I think about this book like really committing to these characters and just going all in and creating that stuff and being fully accessible. So many things to talk about, but chapter 13 really stood out to me the most, like the seven biggest creativity traps and how to
Mm,
overcome them. There's a few that you list, and I'd like to just walk through a couple of these.
sure.
The fine art of complaining is one I think is cool. I'll be happy when, but comparison, the creativity killer.
Mhm.
Comparing yourself to other people or to other situations. When
Yeah.
you started out as an actor, or maybe still, is that something that you find yourself going up against regularly, often, or maybe in the past where you go out for a role that someone else goes out for, or that you maybe passed on or didn't get and go, man, I wish that would have been me? Or is this just this more of like a way for you to help people, as you say, get unstuck that might find themselves caged in that situation?
Yeah. I mean, talking about rejection, which is basically, if you want something and you put energy into it and you don't get it, that's rejection. And what I talk about in the book is that it's so key when you get rejected, and you can get rejected in a relationship, you could any career, we all get rejected from time to time. It's key to, and this may feel counterintuitive, but it's key to feel almost like a bee sting, feel the rejection, like feel it so that you're going to burn it up. Like let yourself just feel the energy in your body, the whatever it is, and then it will move on. But I've seen a lot of people over the years, like amazingly talented actors that I started out with, and they had a series of rejections. And in this business, you get rejected more than accepted. And I just saw them build layers of protective, um, in a sense, like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I didn't want it. I didn't want it. And then they go into their next creative venture slightly protected because they don't want to open themselves up because then they could possibly feel that sensation again. But we have to learn how to open up constantly, and you can deal with whatever you're going to feel. And a lot of the book teaches really how to live in a human body.
I love
And I
it.
don't
Yeah.
think, and that's something that hasn't been addressed really because we don't know that we get all weird if we feel something that we've decided is bad, like nervousness, fear, anxiety, whatever the sensations are with rejection. But if you just feel the purity of the sensation, which is just like anxiety, you ask somebody what anxiety is and you really break it down, it's usually like something like this in their upper torso. And then I have them like, well, really feel that. And then they go, and then I'll say, like, well, is it that bad? And they go, no. And it's just this identity that, that if I feel anxiety, and some people may interpret it, like, like this inside their, upper torso, that it's bad. And then as soon as they associate something they're feeling as bad, they suppress their body because you try not to feel it. And then if you suppress your body, you end up in your head listening to how you suck. So better to feel, and yeah, it might be intense at times, and then stay in the game.
I love it. I think this book is just good for anybody that lives human life in general,
Yes. Yes.
Um, and just reflecting even on past relationships maybe, or things that didn't work out, or jobs that I've worked and didn't work out. I think
Hmm.
it's good. Um, and going back to that statement is just being comfortable in yourself and being able just to accept and process. Uh,
And
I
I'll also add to that, also being uncomfortable in
Yeah,
yourself when you're uncomfortable. Practically everyone's uncomfortable, but if you own it, it's like, yeah, I'm fucking uncomfortable. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Then it's like it's all good. It's just this, I think it's the second chapter is called The Greatest Myth of Our Time, which
yeah,
is that there are good and bad emotions. That's bullshit.
yeah. I like it. I think it's okay to just feel those things.
Yeah.
And
We're
it
going to feel them, whether okay or not okay. That's what happens in a human body.
Yeah, well, as a parent, I have an 11-year-old, and I find this even helpful in parenting and understanding my child who's in the
Yeah.
other room, who
Yeah.
is probably listening, and just thinking about this as a whole. Another thing I think that stood out to me is I'll be happy when. I think that's another important thing to um, think about, because oftentimes we'll go, well, if I can just do this, or I'll be happy when this happens.
Yes.
And then that thing happens and it doesn't feel as good as you think it's going to feel. And it's an ongoing journey, right? I think, and
Yeah.
not
And it's just
just one
catching.
success
That's
to
a
another.
great trick of the mind is like, I'll be happy when this happens. And that just keeps us in a state of misery because it hasn't happened yet, whatever the mind has decided you're going to be happy when it happens. And so that means it's not good right now. And we just have to snap out of that. And one of the tools, as you know from the book, is I'm back. And
Yeah.
whenever any of this nonsense starts, if you're not in a deep conversation, that you just say I'm back and return to seeing what's in front of you, return to your breath and return to the sensation in your body. And that those four elements, which are the four access points, which is another chapter, as you know, that opens the creative channel and that gives you access to your brilliance.
Yes. So I'm interested to know, when in comparison to this, in your career, again, just a few titles that I mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, your TV and filmography is just massive. When you first made your journey out to LA, or however you started, did you find yourself in that trap going, I'll be happy when I get this part? Or, I mean, you'd have
Absolutely.
to as an actor, my God. It's such a
Yeah.
crazy world that you're a part of. It's like
Yeah. I
nothing
mean,
else.
all the things in the book are things that, that chapter, the seven creativity traps, those are all traps that I fell into some of them for quite a long time. And so, I wrote those seven creativity traps so that you don't have to go through it. And I show you the dynamics of a trap and how to get out of it because
Yeah.
we don't need to be tortured.
I love that. That's a good title for this conversation. Um, I and so let me ask you this, like,
Yeah,
when you're in a situation, or just anybody listening or watching, like, there's this saying, it's 90% temper and 10% mental. like, I'm a temperamental person. Like for somebody listening and watching about this conversation, um, we in control ultimately of how we're going to respond to any situation? I'm trying to think of a way to ask this question. We can kind of clean this up a little bit, but like how much of it is circumstantial and how much of it is us as a person? Are we in complete control of how we're going to respond to a situation? Or do you know what I'm trying to ask here?
Yeah,
This is kind of the stream
I
of
mean,
consciousness.
let
Yeah.
me see if this has to do with what, we're kind of circling around. We don't know what we are going to feel
Yeah.
in any given moment in the future. Like you don't know what you're going to feel in 5 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to feel in 5 minutes. So the sensation in the body is constantly shifting, and that's beautiful. That's our needs to be our guide track. We have to stop being dominated by our mind. So this sensation, all the sensation, in a sense, from our mind's point of view, we're out of control. But from our body's point of view, we're completely in control. So that's one thing. But how you respond, that you can respond, how you want to respond, regardless, and using whatever sensation is there. So, I mean, if you felt like a pulsation energy, say in your chest, and that's your reference of anger, but it's just an energetic pulsation, you say inside your rib cage. You can feel that energy, but it doesn't mean you have to lash out at somebody.
Right.
What I
Okay.
mean? You can even be very intimate and feel that charge. And the more a lot of the book teaches how to increase our tolerance for everything that we feel so that we, in a sense, are in control of how we operate into the world.
Yeah, I love it. Another part that I find so interesting, which gave me pause for thought, is chapter 14 about health insights, your body, and really just taking
Mm,
care of yourself. Um,
mhm.
and of course, you talk about a lot of different things about that specifically. But for you, what was the tipping point for you where this was another sentiment that you felt was important to talk about in the book? Just again, based on self experience that you've been through or other people that you've been around, whether it's actors, family. I don't know. I
Right.
feel like any of it could apply specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, for certainly, until I really started discovering this work and kind of developing it, I very much held certain sensations as bad. Um, and as a result of that, I would suppress myself when I would feel those bad things. And that created tension in my body because any sensation that you habitually suppress is like locking a squirrel in a small cage. Do you know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
still in there and it gets locked up. And people that don't let themselves feel have very tight bodies because they're doing everything they can to try to be in control of something that is beautifully and naturally in fluctuation. So I definitely had to manage, I went through periods of really suppressing. I went through like a long stretch of like smoking weed because I didn't want to feel sad. And
Mm.
I would smoke and it was like, yeah, this is great. And then 2 days later, I would be absolutely depressed and sad and I didn't want to feel sad. So I, smoked up again. And that went on for a while until I started to realize that I was doing this to avoid feeling sad. And sadness can be so beautiful and rich, and it's almost like time slows down, and it's almost like a poetic experience if you don't hold it as bad. And that as soon as I started doing that, like I had no desire, for any of that stuff anymore. I mean, I'll have a glass of wine now and then. I'm not like, but I wasn't taking anything as a way to medicate and get rid of my natural body sensations.
Yes. So, for anybody watching and listening that has not read this book yet, we talked about it early on in the conversation. What advice, or obviously people need to read the book, so we'll link it so people can access it. I got
Yeah,
to read
please
it.
do.
Yeah. But for anybody that's a creative or just someone in the car going to and from, how would you sum this book up in a nutshell, for people that are looking for a change, whether it's, like I said, creative, if you're an actor, comedian, any kind of thing in
Yeah,
life?
I mean, and I just want to add, like, I've worked with lawyers and doctors and coaches and people from all professions. This work applies to you. I would say I'll pose it as a question. Like, what would it be like if no matter what you felt, it was all there to support you, which it
Yeah.
is. But what if you had that direct experience that it was all good, that everything interesting, it'll move here, it'll move there, but it was all good, and you didn't have to listen to how you messed up, what you did wrong, that you're no good, that you're too fat, that you're too thin, that you're too old, that you're too young, that you're too experienced, that you're too unexperienced, all that nonsense. What if you could not have that dominate you and be fully in your body and have full access to your creativity? And that's what this book teaches how to do.
Yeah. I mean, that is a beautiful, beautiful way to say it. Again, I benefited so much from reading this. I read it very quickly, between the time we were able to make this happen. And you were on a show recently. I don't know when you recorded, my friend, Classic Conversations with Jeff Dwoskin.
Mm,
He's a good friend of mine, and I just heard your interview recently, and I was like, ooh, Josh is somebody I've been interested in for a long time, and just haven't been able to get to. But I'm so glad we were able to meet. This has been really
me
good.
too. Yeah, and
And
I just want to thank you for reading the book.
yeah, I poured
Just
over it. Yeah, I can't imagine having someone on and not reading it, or at least an audio version if it's available. But yeah, you're very welcome. It's just, that's
I
one of the great
appreciate
things about having done this, over the years, is having been able to read so many great things,
it. Mm,
and then talk to the people that created. I just think it's the best experience. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many pieces to this. It's a very good read, people. It's not a lot of chapters, and you just tell some interesting stories too. And I like how you start out going, before we get into this, let me talk about me for a minute, which I think,
right.
is sort of a fun way, to start a book.
Yeah, I tried to break the fourth wall so
Yeah,
that I'm really talking to you. And I
yeah,
also wanted, and all the chapters, they're really short. So it's like
yes.
really digest, you can just, you know, it's just, it's a fast read. And I don't know, you tell me, but I think there's a lot of funny stuff in there as
Oh,
well.
it's very funny. Yeah, that was one of the things that made me so excited to be able to talk to you. Again, Lose Your Mind, The Path to Creative Invincibility by Josh Pais. Very good, available everywhere.
Yep.
Just a little bit here at the end.
Yeah.
You've just had such an iconic career. I want to ask you, obviously, you've done so many different things, told so many different stories, and had a successful career. You keep acting.
Hmm.
What do you think is your key to success, Josh, that has kept you going? Uh, I mean, obviously there's luck, but you're also talented. Is it working with great people? Is it being kind? Like, what to you is what
I
do you
mean,
think has kept you
honestly, and
going?
I'm not just saying this, but it's the principles that are in the book.
Yeah, I believe
It's
it.
just staying present, having fun, playing, um, and um, and also enjoying my life when I'm not working, as well as enjoying it when I am working, and taking out that if I'm not working, it's a diminished form of life. And if I am working, that's really the thing, which it used to be that way for me. But the more it can be engaged in whatever's in front of me, then when I go into acting, it's like I can be engaged in that. And I just, I love the art form. I feel like I'm a student of the art form, even though I also teach, and that it's always different. It's almost a spiritual practice because we have to go into high intensity situations and be spontaneous.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, Law and Order, a different couple different iterations of that. You're one of a cavalcade of actors who have been on this show in different versions, which I always think
Yeah.
it's fun. In the
Yeah.
Wolf universe, we've talked to a million people from that world, and they're like, leads on one Chicago, one medical shows, and then
Yes.
they play like a drug dealer in several
Yeah.
seasons earlier.
Totally.
Um, so I want to ask about Ray Donovan. That was a character that was a lot of fun that we got to see you in. We've
Yeah.
talked to several people who were part of that show, like a lot of the
Yeah.
main cast and self. What was that experience like for you? I mean, you played such a fun, sort of facetious type character, but it was kind of fun to watch you go through the ringer a little bit.
Yeah.
uh,
Totally. I mean, really, the character came to life on the first day that we were filming, and it was a long scene in the pilot between Liev and I, and I'm asking him to, to keep an eye on this girl that I'm infatuated with.
yes.
And the director came over to me and um, he said, like, this guy is so uncomfortable in his skin. Like he can barely be still. Like, what if he's just so insanely uncomfortable, but he's also has tremendous power?
Yeah.
Because he runs, a movie studio and he's got a lot of power over people, but he's a total mess, like on the inside. And so just those dynamics of somebody has immense power, but is a total, like, fraud, at least perceives himself as a fraud, and so insecure, but tries to put on a secure front. Like that was just so much fun to play. And I think it's also something that, is not, that's not an uncommon phenomenon.
Probably not. Again, talked to several people who are a part of that universe at one point or another, and they all had the same thing to say. It's like it's very, art imitating life so much. Um,
Yeah.
one last thing here, Ninja Turtles,
Sure.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Raphael, the OG.
Yes. Yeah, baby.
That was huge. That was like such an iconic movie for its time when it came out. I
Yep.
remember it. I saw it in theaters and then I just saw it in the drive-in this past summer here in Colorado. It was showing like a classic movie night. That show or that film for you has just had legs beyond anything ever. It has
Totally.
to be incredible for you as an actor to have that still come up in conversation at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it was the most grueling film shoot. I mean, it's certainly the most grueling film shoot I've ever been on, and also amazing. But it's like a 70-pound costume. And this was all new, like, no CGI. Like this was the real
Cutting
thing.
edge at the time.
Yeah. And and just we would get so hot, it was felt like our blood was boiling. Eventually, they started shooting compressed air in our faces because sometimes somebody would pass out.
Wow.
Uh, and just the most intense. physical challenge. And but it was really the hardest thing was when we weren't filming and we just had to be there in this thing in this turtle suit. But what I an interesting thing happened during that, which I've really taken throughout my acting career, which was to use exactly what I was feeling and bring it into the character. And
Yeah.
with I was feeling that was so intense in the suit, and Raphael is going through so much angst and so much struggle that it actually helped bring that character to life.
I love it, which goes back to our book, Lose Your
Yeah.
Mind, The Path to
Yes.
Creative Invincibility. Everybody, please
Yeah.
read this book. We'll
Please.
link it in our
Yeah.
show notes and in our links here on YouTube. Josh, this has been fun. It's such an honor. Again, I've just been a lifelong fan of your work, and it's
Oh,
been
thank
fun
you.
to chat with you for a little bit. Thanks to your team for making it happen, and
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time. Hopefully, we will cross paths again for the next big thing. Thank you for your time. I
Fantastic.
really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great chatting
Absolutely.
with you. Okay.
Absolutely an honor.